Hi, so this video is going to help explain how to work on question 4, which is a different type of question to question 2, which is all about analysis. This one too is about analysis, but there's also this extra element of you providing your own opinion of the text. So with question 4, yes, we want you to analyse and find evidence from the text, but what we really also want you to do though is then just sort of take a step back from the overall text and think about the entire thing. Think about how you respond to what you've just read. So it would be like reading a page in a book and then just putting the book down and then just taking a breath, sitting back in your chair and just wondering, oh, I wonder what was going on there, or hey, I really like the way that was going. Just this moment of sort of reflection. That's what question 4 is really about. And in that reflection, you're offering your thoughts about how you think and how you feel about the way that the text has been designed. I think a useful way to consider what that means is to actually think about the entire text, then we reduce it, and then we actually start thinking about the overall text. Now in question 2, what we tended to have to do is just sort of work on smaller sections. But in question 4, we need to look at the entire text and then evaluate it, make some judgments about how we think the author has created a particular mood. Okay, so the question is saying, what do you think and feel about Frances Willard's experiences of learning to ride a bicycle? Okay, so what do I think about her experiences? So the first thing, to be able to answer that question, I need to know what it is that she's actually saying about learning to ride a bicycle. Okay, once I know what she's saying, then I'll be able to make my own judgment about what I think about her experiences. So let's go to the text. Okay, so not a single friend encouraged me to learn to ride the bicycle. Okay, so this is something that she's saying about her experience of learning to ride. Nobody encouraged her. Not even her friends encouraged her. Now I think that's something that we're going to be able to talk about in our answer. The only person that did was a young teacher who came several times with her bike and gave me lessons. So there's an element of, it's a bit sad actually. So my personal opinion now, what I think and feel about the fact that nobody encouraged her to ride, is that I'm feeling a bit sort of disappointed for her, and maybe a little bit sad that she had to struggle so much just to learn to ride a bike. It also, the text goes on and says, but at 53 I was at more of a disadvantage. Alright, so the fact that she's so old makes me think and feel that it would have been quite difficult for her to ride a bicycle. It's hard enough learning to ride a bike when, maybe if you're 25, but when you're 53, that's clearly a bit trickier. It also says there that she not only had the problems that result from the unnatural style of dress, so I'm going to underline that as well. So clearly if she's got some pretty crazy outfits on, which I'm sure you may have seen in photos back in the day, then clearly that wouldn't have been so easy just to jump on a bike and pedal around. So she's old, she's got this crazy outfit on, and then she is quite honest now saying that she also suffers from a lack of exercise. So what do I think and feel about the information I've just been given there? Well, I can make a judgment and say that for the fact that she's unfit, she's old, and it's not so easy in terms of what she has to wear to ride a bike, that riding a bike would have been difficult. That's my judgment. Okay, let's keep going now. So, those who loved me best and who considered themselves largely responsible for me did not encourage me. Alright, so that's reasonably important. So we've already talked about that though at the beginning. So not a friend encouraged her, so did not encourage me, but thought I should break my bones and spoil my future. Alright, now this is something I'm going to be able to talk about. Remember, in question 4 I don't really need to talk about subject terminology, but if you're in that zone and you feel like doing it, then go for it. You certainly won't be punished for it, but it's not a part of the criteria. But by her saying this though, it's telling me, it's making me feel that not only was she not encouraged, but at this point, now she's being sort of discouraged. She's actually got people telling her that things are going to go wrong if she continues to ride a bike. All right, so the difficulty's kind of been doubled up here, I think. Then, as it keeps going, it must be said, however, to their everlasting praise, that they raised no objection when they saw that I was firmly set to do this thing. Right, so at the end we get this idea where the people are just resigned to the fact that she's going to go for it, and they just sort of let her be. So we've gone from from no encouragement to actually discouragement to then this kind of neutral sort of whatever sort of feeling at the end. So from that first paragraph, I'm getting a really good sense of how difficult it must have been for Frances to learn to ride. So I think and feel I'm actually a bit sad for her, because I realise that it would have been really hard for her to get past all those obstacles. Now, it's also important that I come up to the top here and think about how the text has been shaped, how the language is being used to also help me judge her experiences of learning to ride a bicycle. So basically what that means is I am looking for language techniques here. I don't need to actually label those techniques like I do in question 2, but I still need to be discussing the fact that the author is choosing certain words to create the feeling or the mood of the text. Now let's look at the second paragraph. She says, many doctors are now coming to regard the bicycle as beneficial to the health of women as well as men, and I agree entirely with them. One doctor said, and then it goes on about what the doctor does. So I actually think that this is a technique being used here. I think that she's using an expert opinion to try and persuade the reader that cycling is a good thing. And I guess you could infer that it's sort of her last resort to try and persuade the reader that cycling is okay. She has to bring in the big guns, so to speak, to try and make people realise that it's okay. Now, if she has to do that, that's telling me that clearly she was having a lot of trouble trying to convince people that cycling was okay. All right, so what do I think and feel about her experiences of learning to ride? Well, that tells me again that it was clearly quite difficult. To increase the persuasion when she's talking about the doctor's recommendations, she actually goes through a bit of a list scenario here. She says a lot of things in a row, all separated by semicolons. And so that's a technique then to, again, just really drive home this idea that the doctor's not just saying it's good for one or two reasons, but for many reasons. She's trying to increase the persuasion of her argument, which again is telling me that if she's had to resort to these measures, that it was quite hard. She found it quite difficult to try and convince people that riding a bike was okay. She then goes on to discuss what the outfits were like to ride the bike, and what I'm getting from this, we're getting told that it was, the outfits were ridiculous, in fact, to try and jump on a bike. Way harder than what you'd ever imagine doing now. But what I'm getting from that then, so what do I think and feel about this? Well, she doesn't seem to be put off by it. So what I'm thinking and feeling is that this lady is quite determined to actually make a go of this, to succeed at learning to ride a bicycle. In the last paragraph, we're told again her justification for riding, and it's based on doctor's orders almost. So again, that's telling me, it's making me think and feel that she struggled to convince people to ride a bike, and so she had to, again, mention the fact that an expert in medicine was telling her that it was actually really good for her health. Now, further down in that paragraph though, now we start finding out a little bit more maybe about her personality, where she does say, I did it from pure natural love of adventure. Okay, so this is telling me that she loves getting outside, she really likes she's got a sort of a spark in her personality that's adventurous. And also, here's where it really comes in really nicely, I think, where she says, and because a good many people thought I could not do it at my age. All right, so she's stubborn. She's determined to prove them wrong. All right, so her personality is really shining through here. So what do I think and feel about her experiences of learning to ride a bicycle? So at this point, I could say that her desire to prove people wrong is also affecting her experience of learning to ride. In fact, it made her want to learn to ride even more. And then finally, after her taking us through a series of lists about her progress and how she managed to become good at it, she uses some really strong adjectives here at the end. Remarkable, ingenious and inspiring machine ever devised upon this planet, to really highlight to us that she absolutely loves riding. And what do I think and feel then about her experiences of learning to ride based on that quote at the bottom? Well, it shows me that she really enjoyed it. So going through the entire text, she obviously had a lot of obstacles. She's really clever in how she, I guess, negotiates those obstacles in trying to persuade people that cycling's okay. And then finally we're left at the end. So structurally, at the end of that article, I'm left with this feeling that she really enjoyed the learning experience. So let's look at the answer that I've offered here. Because this is an evaluation question, the majority of my responses, so whenever I talk about a quote and explain that quote, I need to then add this extra layer, which is my opinion, my evaluation, what I think that quote, what effect the quote has produced, what I think about it. So what I'm going to do is actually go through here and show you how often, in fact, I am offering my evaluation, how often I'm saying that I think and that I feel about something that the text has offered. So what I'm going to do is just go through that right now and highlight them all in one shot. Okay, so here we have it. You'll notice that there's quite a lot, in fact. And the reason there are a lot of examples is because that's exactly what the question wants you to do. It wants you to offer your personal opinion and your judgment based on the evidence that you've found in the text about her experiences of riding a bicycle. And if you read through the answers, you'll notice that I'm sometimes taking the answer to a deeper level, in fact. I'm observing something from the text, I'm looking at the example that the language is offering me, and I'm really going with it, and I'm expanding on some of those comments to really connect with the writer and the way that the text has been presented. There's also a lot of evidence as well, and we'll quickly go through some of those. In fact, let's pause that and do that right now. So as we can see, there's a lot of evidence from the text to help support my theories. So I'm not just making up my, what I think and feel about her writing experiences, I'm backing it up. All of my opinions, in fact, are derived from a particular example from the text. And that's how you do this. You get your example and then you make a judgment based on what you've thought about it. Really, really simple, I hope.